So funnily enough, the last thing I ever thought about when I started writing this book, Masculine Gene Expression and Upregulating Testosterone, was the superficial factors. Like, guys, we have to get past this adolescent immaturity in respects to why we're optimizing our testosterone. Of course, it is nice. It is nice to look good naked. We get that. But one of the most profound changes that you will experience when your testosterone starts to fluctuate into the 4-digit category, and your masculine genes start expressing themselves to the height and pinnacle that they were always meant to be, is the temperamental factors, is how you approach the world. Like, if you're sat here and you're in utter shame of your timidness, your shyness, your impotence, maybe, which might be a reflection of that kind of mentality and temperament, which equally women can pick up on. Like, I'm going to say a lot of crass things in this video in just a moment in respects to how your courting process has changed by a consequence of your masculine genes being expressed again to their pinnacle. And we'll waste no time. Let's go straight into it. Like, your approach, your way of bouncing back from rejection, or even the prospect of entertaining, there are these lights keep switching on and off, your prospect of entertaining rejection is completely changed when your expression of your genes is optimized, in that you become the manifestation of the Stoic. Like, what does your mind conjure up when you start to think about this idea of a Stoic? In my mind, it starts to conjure up the iconography of these marble statues, these immovable, immutable, immortal pieces of art that are unmoved and unchanged by the external. Think about that. Whatever the season, be it snow, be it rain, be it sun, be it wind, the statue is immovable. It is immortal. It is forever congruent. It is eternal and unchanging. And equally, your temperament becomes more consistent and congruent with the iconography and the description of what I'm telling you is the manifestation of the Stoic. And in that way, you need to think about initial rapport and courting. Like, if you walk up to a woman and you start an interaction, as the micro to the macro of foreplay and intercourse. I told you I was going to get crass in the preface of this video, but this is the idea: is when you're having that initial conversation with a woman, you're kind of marketing your sexual interaction. Think about that. Your initial exchanges, she is thinking, is going to be a reflection for how you are in the bedroom. And in that way, you want to be firm, you want to be rigid, you want to be stiff, you want to be penetrative. And that is the embodiment of the masculine principles, which, surprise, surprise, is consistent and congruent with your endocrine system, with your hormonal factor. And, these two are kind of a mirror reflection in and of themselves. In many ways, this is an interesting idea to kind of comprehend and really mull over and ruminate, is you have to penetrate her mentally and emotionally before you do physically. Think about that. You penetrate a woman emotionally and mentally before you ever do physically. And in that way, that is the prelude, the foreplay, as it were, for intercourse with her. So in that way, how do we change this? How do we make sure that our initial interactions are reflective of how we would like to be in the bedroom? Stiff, hard, dominant, leading the interaction. We need to look at we first need to go through several configurations, which is kind of highlighted in my book, Masculine Gene Expression. The first, one of the initial configurations, is elimination of the external factors that are seeking to destroy our inner environment, so our endocrinology. So I'll go over things like BPA and MSG and all these external factors that are permeating our internal environment and essentially poisoning ourselves from the inside out. I've always said, before supplementation or before addition, we must think subtraction. There is no point in me, and I know I've done many videos on different supplements that will seek to raise your testosterone and subsequently raise the expression of your masculine genes. And they have their time and place. They do have their time and place, but it is folly to entertain supplementation before you entertain elimination. We first need to get to the source of what is a slow poison in our veins that is seeking to slowly destroy us. So elimination being a factor. Then we need to think about optimization, the things that perhaps we're doing fairly good already. Maybe our nutrition isn't terrible, but it could always be better. And I go over the particular dietary and lifestyle requirements that are a consequence of daily living, not just nutrition, but also different practical habits that should be instilled in your life as a habit as consistent as brushing your teeth in the morning and before you go to bed. There are some specific and unique factors that pertain to parameters of training equally that are going to optimize this. Sunlight, red light, and other nutritional, what would you say, choices that should again be they should be a standard in your diet. And then of course we go supplementation, and then of course we go androgenization, which kind of looks into the, I suppose, logic of not just testosterone but other hormones in our body that contribute to the expression of our masculine genes, and consequentially the expression of how we are marketing ourselves in the world to other men, but specifically, as the aforementioned point was, to women equally. Like I really wish or hope I'm conveying the excitement and the geekiness I have when your hormone system is working fundamentally well. Like, okay, it's nice to look good, it's nice to have a beard, it's nice to have a deep voice, and all these what would you say, trappings of masculinity. That's true, but women are intuitive and emotional creatures, and as much as you can have good marketing, what is the product in and of itself? And I've always been a proponent that if the product in and of itself is good and high quality, in that when you're having that initial conversation, you are stoic, you are unmovable, you are direct, you are penetrative, you are playful, you have a sense of whimsy in that way. There is this kind of nonchalant attitude of, I want you, but to be honest, I don't really need you. My quality of life and my sense of validation all comes from the external. Then that is portraying this iconography in the description that I prefaced this video with of the Stoic, the immovable, immortal piece of art that is unchanged to the external environments, to the seasons. I've used this analogy before. I can't remember where I got this analogy, but I like the idea of being like a porous rock on the beach, in that it is unmoved by the waves, but it also kind of absorbs and allows the waves to permeate you, and you kind of have that delicate balance between knowing who you are in yourself, knowing that your sense of self-worth, comes from the internal and not the external, but also that you are an integral part to the 3D world in which you interact with. You are forever absorbing and learning and interacting and playing with the gift that is fundamentally life. So you want to be a porous rock. You want to be that porous rock. Because there is a narrative out there that the masculine is almost, in a sense, in some narratives, removed from the world. No, you still need to stay in this world. The true masculine embodies, a sense of whimsy, a sense of play. It's not always cool, calm, and collected, but he almost uses the world to fuel his own sense of self-amusement. And I think that's one of the greatest pieces of advice I've personally come across in respects to courtship. There's always this idea of having to impress the female counterpart. How do I make them feel good? How do I make them laugh? How do I entertain them? Like you're some clown or some jester. But in actual fact, think about the different ways, think about the idea of amusing yourself, and in that you begin to cultivate and rediscover that inner childlike wonder and play that you had when your ego hadn't fragmented from the self, and you started to create this idea of who you are and how you market yourself to the world. Why can't things just be done for the sense of self-amusement or play or whimsy? And I hope that this particular rumination is of value. And again, thank you for all of you gentlemen who have pre-ordered Masculine Gene Expression, which is in the link down below, and it will be released this Friday. It's my greatest piece of work in my personal opinion, and I've had so much fun writing it, and I hope you equally enjoy the system that is going to see what I'm talking about come to fruition. These are not theories, gentlemen, these are facts. Speak soon.